else I hear? Well, I have a pig pattern from Judy Gale Roberts, and I want to make that. So I made a bunch of copies of the pattern, and now I'm going to figure out which wood I want to use and then cut the pattern up even more for each of the pieces. Yay! I think I'd like to use spalted maple for the fence and walnut for the piggy face. Doesn't that look like a piggy face already? Ah, cool! So I think the piggy face, yeah, neat. And then these are the ears, the piggy ears. Yeah. So piggy ears, piggy face, fence. And I'd like to use this piece of blue pine somewhere, maybe on the fence. I don't know if that would look good or not. It probably wouldn't, but we'll see. Yeah. So I sprayed the pieces with 3M77 spray adhesive. Then used some tweezers to pick them up and put them on their pieces of wood. I cut the patterns up, but the face and a lot of the fence are going to be sawed together or segmented, so I didn't have to cut the paper pattern apart very much. I organized the sections of the fence onto the wood and then glued them in place. This is a pretty thick piece, so I'm using a number 5. Not sure how good it's going to work, but we'll find out. We will find out. Yes, we will. I did use the bandsaw to make a beginning cut just so I could get to the pattern quicker. And the number 5 did really well with this thick piece. It is about 1.5 to 2 inches. Since this is a segmented section, it would have been better to use like a 2/0 or number 3 blade to separate these pieces, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do well with this thickness. And if I moved up to a larger blade, then the kerf would have been really wide, and I didn't want that for these segmented pieces. So the number 5 was it, and I think it worked really well. Then I took the papers off by painting on some mineral spirits. But I didn't want the papers off of the spalted maple yet because I hadn't sawed the pieces apart. So once those papers dried, I re-glued them back to the wood and then was able to saw them apart. Then I flipped the pig head over and put some double stick tape onto the back side. Then placed the sanding shim onto the sticky tape. And started shaping the pig head on the pneumatic drum sander with 100 grit. Then I took it off of the sanding shim. All right, I had gray on there and I wasn't sure about it, so I made some red. And I didn't like that either. So I made it in maple then, because this is spalted maple, and I think that's gonna make it look the best. Yeah, so I'll stick with that. Then I started sanding the fence boards. Then I did some more shaping on the big sander, marking with the pencil where the pieces meet. I'm always amazed at how well this sanding stick cleaner works. This is the flex drum and it has 220 grit on it, so I went over every piece with this. Then used 220 and hand sanded all the edges of the pieces. I drew the nostrils in and will be wood burning them in a little while. Then I used craft bond to lightly attach a piece of newsprint to this thin wood that will be the backer. Then I sprayed the paper and added the pig to it. This will hold it nice and snug while I trace around it using a pencil. Then removed the project and made a red line about 1/16 of an inch or so inside of the trace line. Then cut that out on the scroll saw following the red line. I removed the paper off of the backer and it came off pretty easily. That is a good thing about craft bond, but it can also be a bad thing in other applications. But for this it's fine. Then I sanded the edges. Then I sharpened some pieces of holly in the pencil sharpener. And put the ebony eyes into this little vise and used my little hand drill to make some catch lights in the eyes. Then I test fit the holly into the drilled holes, sanding the tips as needed to make them fit nice and snug. Then used a little bit of glue and put the holly catch lights into the ebony eyes. Next I wood burned the nostrils into the nose. Then I cut the extra holly off of the eyes. And hand sanded them flush with 220. I put some blue tape along the edge of the backer. Then sprayed the backer and the edges with black primer. Now it was time to put on the finish. I used Old Masters polygel, wiping it on the sides and the top, and then wiping it off until it was dry. This spalted maple is amazing. Wow, look at that. Woo! Yeah. I'm gonna let that set up now for overnight. And I might have a little bit of sanding to do on these. Bummer. I'm excited to see how it looks all together. And I did sand some of these to get the scratches off and then put some new finish on them. They look much better. Next was to make the little sign that goes on the fence. I'm going to put, "That'll do, pig, that'll do." For those of you who don't know where that comes from, I'll show you a little video clip of the movie Babe.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
I will use this piece for the sign. And we'll cut the words out with this piece of walnut. I used the sticker machine to make the words into stickers to stick them to the thin walnut. Then I cut out the letters with the scroll saw. Then I removed the tape from the backer and flipped it over and added a verse to the back. I put Matthew 25:21. It says, "His master said to him, 'Well done, good and faithful servant.'" And I think that's probably what the farmer was saying to the pig in the movie. But the verse continues and it says, "You have been faithful over a little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." And that's the stuff I hope to hear one day. Then I glued the words to the little sign. Then moved the whole thing onto the backer board. And started gluing with Tight Bond, Quick and Thick, gluing one piece to begin with, and letting it set up before gluing the next one. And I glued on the sign. I had put Old Master's polygel on this too, and it was a little bit difficult to wipe off because of all the letters. So I used a tool to push a cloth into the nooks and crannies, and it worked pretty well. Let's go put my plug in it. I drilled a 2-inch hole into the backer. Then glued in my logo plug. Then I drilled some holes for the hanger and put in a couple of screws. Then I put Old Masters all over the backside. And when it was dry, then I added the hanging wire to the screws. Yay! And the last thing I did was to add some Krylon Triple Thick to the eyes to give them a glossy shine. Well, the pig is all finished, and it was more like a segmentation there, and even here. And of course I still have some gaps, but I think it still looks cool even with all those issues, and I'm seeing some now as I stand here, but oh well. It was still fun. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye! Okay, I just gotta change it. Yay, that'll do, pig! That'll do!